what is the point of AI?
Around the globe, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence.
AI holds incredible promise for all of us.
The film industry is facing some backlash as an AI actress is emerging as a breakout star.
This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone. Basically, we invented everything. And now it's AI.
They're the first AI glasses, a high-resolution display. Uh-oh. Well, I don't know what to tell you guys.
If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI.
I remember growing up, it's what are you watching? Then it was who are you talking to? Now it's are you talking to a human?
The robots are here.
I don't even like the name. You know, I don't like anything that's artificial, so could we straighten that out, please? We should change the name.
From Newsweek World Headquarters here at the top of the World Trade Center in New York City, this is the 1600. I am Carlo Versano. And I'm here today with Jesus Mesa. Jesus is a good friend of mine. He's also one of my reporters here at Newsweek. Jesus, you've been working on a story about the backlash to artificial intelligence that we're starting to see brewing out there. And I mean, it's hard to tell really right now what's real and what's fake, right? I mean, you're real, I'm real, at least I think so, right? Yep. One thing that is real, though, is this backlash. You know, we are really starting to see it both in just, you know, on the subway. People are tagging AI advertisements. You see this in New York all the time now. I think there's a lot of people out there who are just like, we were promised that this technology was really going to solve some of our serious problems. And what are we actually getting? We're getting, you know, what is affectionately referred to out there as slop. But I think it's worth going back for a minute and saying, you know, what is the point of AI, right? What was the point? What was sold to us? We were told for years that it was about developing something called superintelligence, or at the very least, artificial general intelligence, as in a technology that can reason or outperform the best human skills, whether that's, you know, in the creative fields, whether that's mathematics, whether it's scientific insight, social skills. But what we've actually gotten so far is not really quite there, right? It's something different. I mean, OpenAI came out with chatgpt, what, 2-3 years ago now? I think 3 years ago. And that is a product that shows that we can create at a great expense a product that can kind of be a simulacrum of a human brain, right? ChatGPT is really good at doing certain things. It's good at coding. At least it's good at, you know, sort of basic coding, and it's getting better.
Sending emails.
It's really good at cheating on your homework, right? It's basically like the world's greatest plagiarism machine. And it appears to reason as though humans reason, but that's not actually what it's doing, right? The technology, you know, the technology is a little bit complicated. I don't even really quite understand it, but what it is, it's basically a big fancy algorithm that's using these billions of data points, these huge data sets, right, that they call large language models, yep, and is predicting what the next character in a word would be, and then what the next word would be in a sentence based on this huge amount of data, right? So you know, it's cool, it's certainly cool, and it has value, but the problem is that it can't be relied on to produce the same answer every time because it is predictive like that, right? So that means that whatever this thing is spitting out to you, it still has to be verified by good old-fashioned human beings, right? These things, these ChatGPT and other LLMs, they tend to hallucinate, right? We've seen it in our own work. They will make up quotes. They will call Donald Trump the former president for some reason that gets really stuck on that. So what I'm saying here is it kind of like defeats the purpose, because the purpose of this technology was going to take stuff off of our plates. It was going to do things that we cannot do, that we could do, but is sort of maybe busy work, right? It's not really doing that. So I guess the point of this conversation that I want to have is, where is the innovation, right? Where is the thing that was going to change our lives for the better as promised, right? Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, has been out there talking about how this product, this technology is going to cure cancer one day, and maybe it will. And I have heard good examples of, particularly in the medical community, of these LLMs being able to diagnose certain conditions and diseases with an ease that doctors can't. So I'm not saying that it doesn't have real, actual, you know, value. But that's on the one hand. On the other hand, let's take a look at some of the new AI products that have come to market here in just the last couple months. So the first one I want to bring up is something called friend.com. So if you live in New York City, you have surely seen the ads for this thing. They're all over the subway. It is a necklace, or I guess a pendant, that is also an always-on AI chatbot, and it lets you it listens to you, right? And it acts as your friend, which is why it's called Friend, I suppose.
Yeah, do you remember that movie, Her?
It is basically that.
Basically Her.
It is the version of Scarlett Johansson in Her. And now we have it. There's another one that Meta, the company that owns Facebook, just came out with this week. It's called Vibes. Now, this is a short-form video app. It's basically a version of TikTok, but it's populated entirely by AI-generated videos. So like we were talking about the hamster dressed as Superman, now there's an app where you can just scroll constantly, wasting your life looking at pictures like that, goldfish riding a tricycle, stuff, what we would affectionately call in the industry, AI slop. OpenAI actually just this week followed up the Vibes product from Meta with something they're calling Sora 2. This is a basically advanced version of that. They're calling it a social network based entirely on AI videos. And why I say it's more advanced is the technology is just much better. This stuff actually looks real. And we'll get to that in a second, why that's a real problem. But I want to also get to my personal favorite of these new AI products that nobody asked for. This one is called Throne. It is a camera that you put in your toilet, and it's always on, and it uses AI to analyze your poop.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I don't know if you needed that. I know that I definitely needed that. Throne, for what it's worth, they say that the camera only points down, which I suppose if you're putting a camera in your toilet is the direction you would want it to point. So yeah, Jesus, brave new world. Indeed. I want to go back into these examples because they're funny, but they're also serious, especially a couple of these. Tell me what Sora 2 is. This is the new OpenAI product launched this week.
Yeah, let's think about ChatGPT bot for video. That's the point of Sora 2. I think they launched it for a while. It's back for last year. I think that they did it. But, the new thing about it is that it's more authentic. It's more real. And as you said before, it's kind of difficult to deal and see if something is real or not when you're watching these kind of videos. For example, the one that Sam Altman just did last night. And it gets tricky because, we were told for a long time that if you got it on video, that's true. But the reality is that now it's making hard even the job for me or for journalists all over the world to even trust what you're seeing on X or on social media, on Facebook, whatever, right. Because you don't really know what you're getting. You don't really know if it's AI or not. And even the politicians are using fake memes.Maybe they know, maybe they don't know. But in reality is that we don't really know what we are watching right now on our phones.
Trump has even said this. He said at a presser, I think a couple weeks ago, that somebody showed him a video, one of these AI-generated videos of him growing up through the years. And Trump, being a boomer and this all being new to him too, was like, it was crazy. I didn't even know if it was real or fake. I didn't know how they did that.
No, and it happened to me the other day. I was watching a South Park episode, I think the first episode of the season, and there is a scene in the end of the episode where Trump is like walking through the desert, and I thought, okay, that's AI. It cannot be something that they shot in real life. But then I checked, and it was not AI. But that question that I did to myself, it's kind of the world we are living now.
Right. No, and like you said, it used to be in our business, if something was on video, you could more or less assume that thing happened. And I say that because I want to bring up this video of that Sam Altman put out. This is the top video trending on Sora 2 right now, and it is a clip of Sam. It appears to be CCTV footage of Sam Altman stealing stuff from a Target and getting caught. So kind of funny until you realize that, if we are now able to create video content of people committing crimes that they didn't actually commit, it's not very difficult to see how that could become a problem down the line, right? So I want to go, so that's Sora 2. So let's go back to what is this Meta Vibes thing that came out. Can you walk us through with this one?
Yeah, I think that, as you said, it's basically TikTok but with AI avatars. And the thing that, as we have talked on this conversation, is like, do we really need this? Like, we are spending a lot of our times doom scrolling on X, doom scrolling on Instagram, and now we have another app, another platform where we can not only like spend our time, but also watch content that we don't really know if it's real or not. And I think that's get tricky because in the end, when you scroll on X or you scroll on Instagram, you're actually seeing the output from people, from real people, what they wanna share with you. But now they are like just creating a prompt and just guessing what you're gonna like or not, and I think that's get a little bit troubling. And I spoke with an expert for this piece that I'm working on, and I think that even if people is reacting badly against this, people are not liking these tools. These platforms are pushing hard to get us on them, to use them. And I don't know if you have used Facebook in recent days. I know that no one uses Facebook anymore.
I haven't had a Facebook account in like a decade.
If you use Facebook or you use WhatsApp or you use Instagram, you're going to see that they have really pushed on Meta AI to ask questions, to not leave the platform. And I think that's where we are. The attention economy now brings up the AI, so you don't really need to leave Instagram to ask a question. I remember that back in the time, if you wanted to go to a restaurant, well, you check the Instagram profile, and then you go to Google and Google it, you Google the reviews. But now you can do that on the platform. You can do that on Instagram. Just ask AI. And as you said before, we don't really know if the information that we're getting from AI is real or not, because it's not thinking. It's a large language model that is giving you the more logical answer for your question that you did. So. Yeah, that's the world that we're living now.
So, I mean, a couple of things with the Meta vibes. This one really got to me for some reason. I am on the record in the 1600 newsletter talking about how much I dislike Meta as a company. I think they're hurting society. I think they're hurting the culture. Keep in mind, this is a company that Reuters reported recently was using its AI bots to train on how to flirt with children, with 8-year-olds, right? And they got caught doing that. That's a real thing that happened. And so now they're taking the two things that, in my opinion, are destroying our culture, which is AI and short form video, mashing them up into a new app that you can use to waste your life. But what I was going to say is, what was interesting about this is, when I saw this guy Alex Wang, who is one of the big AI voices, one of the big AI guys at Facebook, he posted this on X, and he got ratioed. Right? It was not usually when these AI guys post what they're working on, there's a lot of reaction about how great it is, how cool it is, cutting edge stuff. If you look at the X post from Wang announcing Meta Vibes, it is just a list, one after another, of people being like, what you said, who needs this? We didn't ask for this. I thought we were supposed to be working on curing cancer, and we're now effectively, creating Slop-as-a-Service in service of, revenues for Mark Zuckerberg, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember, but I think you do. Well, 5 years ago, Mark Zuckerberg was in a full avatar, advocating for a metaverse and saying that the metaverse was the future, and now the future is AI. So the thing is that he's really pushing hard on this, and I think David Fincher has a lot of things to work on for the next.
The social network too.
For the social network too, because I think that a lot of things have happened to Mark Zuckerberg since 2010.
Yeah, that's for sure. He's definitely, I think he's gone through a lot of personal changes. Okay, the other one is friend.com, which we mentioned. Again, I mentioned these guys because they are currently in the process of what I believe is the largest New York City subway campaign in history.
On purpose.
On purpose.
I was reading on that the CEO actually wanted the ads on New York because he said that New York is a city that hates AI. So he wanted to have the conversation right there.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, so these ads, they're very, simple. It's like white background. It's just this little pendant. And it's like, this is your friend who will follow you around all day and ride the subway with you. And all of these ads have been tagged, right? So in the subway station by my house in Brooklyn, there's the station's covered with these ads, and people have been scrawling on them like, hold on, I wrote down a couple of them. Nobody asked for this.
AI is not your friend.
The more AI you use, the dumber you will get. And my personal favorite that I saw this morning, AI wouldn't care if you lived or died, which is true. So the critics of this friend thing are accusing this startup of profiting off the loneliness epidemic, right? We've done stories here at Newsweek about, how many particularly young men don't have friends, and they don't, they're sort of spending a lot of time by themselves. And the founder of this company has even said that this is a digital relationships company. So they're clearly trying to create a product market fit, which I would argue is not needed. I mean, what people need is more actual friends.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that in the world that we're living now, well, these companies are seeing an opportunity on this loneliness epidemic, and I think that you might think, okay, this AI will help me to, I don't know, talk with a friend, talk with a girl that I like in a bar or in a restaurant or stuff like that. I will ask ChatGPT to what's the best catchphrase to just go around and talk with her.
Yeah.
But on reality, what we're getting is these necklaces to speak with.
Yeah. If you have to use an AI pendant to ask a girl out, you should really rethink some things. All right, we talked about Throne, the poop camera. We don't really need to get into that anymore. But I do want to get into the stock market, right? Because we've talked about this before, Jesus, you and I, that there's the stock market is on fire right now. And if you dig into it, it's these Mag 7, which is known as the Magnificent 7 stocks. Amazon, Meta, Google, Nvidia, Microsoft. There's a couple more. They're propping up the S&P, right? The other 493 stocks in there are barely even up, I think, this year. These other stocks are crushing it because there's all of this belief that even though they're not really making that much actual revenue, at least some of these companies, some of them are, there's all of this expected future cash flows from their investments in AI spend, whether that's in data centers or whether that's in, whatever Meta's doing with this new app. So, I mean, it sure feels like a bubble. Right? It really does feel like a bubble. I think one of the differences with this bubble and the last one is when this one pops, a lot of regular people are going to feel it because there's so much of the economy now is built into the stock market, and so much of the stock market moves based on what's happening in the tech sector, right?
Yeah, I found that in the first half, for example, of 2025, companies spend more like $320 billion on this, and the government is really pushing on this AI boom. Telling them to invest on infrastructure, telling them to invest on different companies, advocating for NVIDIA, for example, advocating for these platforms, all these AI moguls, reuniting with Trump on the White House, talking with them. I think that it is very concerning on a point that we are not really getting the returns of it. Like there is a lot of money invested on AI, and the returns that we're getting is actually what you said, like an app to check my poop,
right.
A better meme creator,
right.
An improved email writer. Those are the things that we're getting, because in the end, it's the public, the one that is using these tools who made them, actually.
Right.
And the output that we're getting is not enough for the amount of money that.
So I think you could argue, the other side of that you would argue is like, okay, so the supply and demand are sort of like out of whack right now, but that's happened in the past, right? Like, so in the 2000s in the dot-com
for that
bubble, yeah. Well, I sort of vaguely remember this. There was this huge buildup. All these companies were laying all these fiber lines across the country, right? Because they saw the future of how high-speed internet was going to, sort of change the web and everything. So, I mean, but that was like they didn't need all of that build out right then, but we eventually got to a place where we did need it, right? And we could rely on all of these fiber lines that they built out, back when there was this bubble. I don't know if that's the same thing here, because if this bubble pops, I don't know if this technology has a use. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being totally like.
No, and the thing is that people are already having the hits on this. Like the utilities bills are higher right now. People are expected to buy more expensive devices. You have to buy a new phone. You have to buy an improved phone that can deal with ChatGPT, that can deal with AI, that can deal with Gemini. If we're talking about Google, for example, if you sort of own an Android in the United States, the question for the AI companies is, okay, so what are you going to do with all this money that you're investing on this? What are the returns? What I'm getting of all of this?
Right, exactly.
Well, that's the question and I think that people is getting pissed about it, and people is not only pissed about the amount of money that is invested on these technologies, but also, people are more aware about the environmental impact of it, like the data centers, how much water they consume for any prompt that you do. Like even if you're just, as you said, like the hamster, you were talking about the hamster, like how much water do they consume when you're doing that stupid prompt like that?
Because these data centers need to be cooled, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the other thing, in addition to the water, the other thing I wanted to talk about is and you mentioned this before, but the electricity costs, and that's one of the things that we're starting to see in terms of this backlash of people. I just saw something in Bloomberg that people who are wholesale electricity prices for neighborhoods that are near some of these data centers are up something like 250%. That's not going to work for people, right? People are not going to be cool with their monthly utility bill going up so that they can pay for the energy that Facebook or Nvidia or some of these companies are going to require for what they're building.
Yeah, and if you are in the 2025 America, well, people are very scared and worried about the prices and about the cost of living. And if you have your utility bills getting higher, it's concerning for them.
And I think, so that's sort of part of the blowback. The other thing, we did a story, I edited a story that you wrote a while back about Gen Z sort of being, we think of them as sort of the most, technology forward generation, but you're also starting to see
I can doubt that.
But we're also starting to see the backlash among them, because I think there's, the younger people in this country are starting to see like, wait, we were sort of sold a bill of goods about going to college and learning to code, and we're coming out of school and like these jobs have already been, taken over by some of these AI services. So I think they're much more reactive to this than people give them credit for, and sort of on top of it, because they understand that this is their future. And one of the stories that we wrote a while back was about this slur that Gen Z has come up with.
Yeah, the clanker one.
Clanker, right. So what is a clanker?
Well, the clanker, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but clanker is like the term that the small Star Wars drones had,
right,
like the ones that the Emperor had too. But back in the prequels, that nobody liked it. I liked it. I grew up
You
with
like
them.
the Star Wars prequels?
No,
okay.
I love the prequels.
That's a topic for another time.
I was 12 years old when they went out. But if you remember those brown robots, those was the clankers, the stupid ones that carried the gun. So people are calling clankers to all these robots or things that even if you call, for example, to get service on your phone, like if you if you're talking with a computer, when you're talking with AI, well, that's a clanker. That's something that is replacing a human being, and people are reacting, kicking them, like these delivery robots that are, I don't know, shipping your packages on your house.
Right.
They are kicking them. They are like reacting badly against, and I think that it could be a joke, but at the same time, I'm coming back to the Friend campaign. I was walking to the 14th Street tunnel between the Red Line and the L on Brooklyn, and close to the Friend ad, you had like an ad from Skechers, and the
shoe company, yeah,
the shoe company, and it was made with AI. It was made with AI, and it was vandalized too. And you're thinking, okay, so for example, these graphic designers that you get, you get out of college, you have a lot of debt, you want an entry-level job, and the things that you're seeing is this multi-million companies using AI for these multi-billion campaigns. So it makes you wonder, like, okay, should I go and I don't know, send my CV to a Chipotle? That's where they are right now.
Right. No, I mean, my daughter's 4 years old, and I wonder, I'm telling her she should be an electrician, right? She should learn now. Okay. Well, Jesus, I want to leave it there. Your story about the AI backlash will be published on Newsweek.com this week, hopefully in the magazine shortly thereafter. And I do, before we go, I don't want to come across as a Luddite, right? Like I even got the new iPhone, right? I'm with it. I'm cool, but. I think we need some sort of national reckoning over what we want from this technology, what we want from these companies, so that it's just not another tool that's used to pull us apart, right? To melt our brains and make us stupider and more illiterate.
That was a great ending.
But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. You can email me if you read the newsletter, if you got my email already, or you can leave a comment in the comments section below. But let's leave it there. Jesus, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Of course.
Good to be here.
Thanks for watching. Remember to be good to each other and good to yourselves.